Every few years or decades, someone comes along who changes the landscape of entertainment and leaves a permanent mark on the industry. Ricky Nelson, with his far-reaching impact, is one of those, and along with his family, he will be remembered well into the future. Earning Golden Globe nominations, top Billboard hits, and even a Grammy, his contribution to entertainment in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s reached people across the country and beyond. Beginning his adult life with a nest egg of money from his parents, combined with his salary from his early teen years, he was able to provide for his family in a way that allowed them to have luxuries and stability throughout their lives. Sharing both screen and stage with some of the biggest stars in the 60s and 70s, Ricky Nelson left his mark on both music and television. In 1987, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for his accomplishments during his decades-long career. With shows like The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, movies including Rio Bravo, and 54 Billboard Hot 100 hits, there is a long list of accomplishments that marked his career. His first appearance was on the radio show The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. After this, his name became more easily recognized and he moved forward with other radio appearances, guest spots on television shows, and eventually progressed into movies. Ricky was born into a musical family dynasty, and it's worth noting that this gave him a catapult into the limelight. The rest of his family played an active role in his life throughout its entirety. As they began their radio adventure at a young age, both Eric and his older brother David jumped into the family business early. They grew up with their life experiences being shared and quickly adjusted to the spotlight. Ozzie and Harriet Nelson are still easily recognizable names, and they had a part in changing entertainment. Harriet was born Peggy Lou Snyder in 1909, and Ozzie was born in 1906. They were in a band together until she settled at home with the children Eric and his brother David Nelson. She had been on stage since the age of 3, and she spent time in the Corps de Ballet, the Harry Carroll Revue, and worked with comedians. She was performing in vaudeville when she met Ozzie Nelson, who was then a band leader, and joined their band. She also starred in films with people like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, and was popular throughout the war. In a few movies they starred together, and as their relationship grew, their lives became further intertwined. Ozzie Nelson was born in 1906 in New Jersey, and he obtained a law degree from Rutgers School of Law. His musical career began when he was earning money as a student by playing the saxophone in a band, and during the war it became his career. His band recorded frequently through the 30s and the 40s, and he married Harriet when she was still the vocalist in 1935. Ozzie was in several movies, both in acting roles and as part of his band, which progressed to his involvement in radio shows. As the beginning of the fame that the family enjoyed together, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet launched in 1944. Their son David was born in 1936, and he quickly became part of the family business. David's journey in the entertainment world was nothing short of thrilling. Launching from his early radio and television beginnings on The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, he was destined for greatness. Despite the demands of university, David's passion for the family show saw him dive into directing episodes by the 1960s, his talent undeniable. His career took off with guest starring roles on various shows until 1990 and a directorial stint that extended into the 70s, leaving an indelible mark in the industry. Amid all the glamour, he married June Blair, and they had 2 sons, Daniel and James, though their union ended in divorce. Not one to be discouraged, David found love again with Yvonne Houston, and they expanded their family by adopting 3 children, John, Eric, and Terry. His legacy, driven by creativity and resilience, inspired many. David's life was a captivating blend of personal and professional triumphs, setting a high bar for those who followed. While the show portrayed the family as fun-loving, close-knit, and relaxed, it has been said that Ozzie was controlling and very strict. Talk of turmoil in the family revolved around the boys being encouraged or actively prevented from attending college or university, and instead reminded they are already earning money through their acting and music. It was suggested that Ozzie wanted the boys to keep working with them to maintain that income, and that he knew if they quit to pursue other dreams, his own income would be impacted. Whether he was as controlling, angry, and demanding as some have said, or if he was the loving and generous father he portrayed on TV and in the media, we are likely to never know. His music career also evolved as years passed, beginning with pop music and slowly transitioning to a country rock style. Finding his name listed on the music charts alongside stars like Elvis Presley, it became clear that he was finding the notes the people were looking for. His rise to fame was fast and complete, becoming a household name at an early age as he followed the path that his parents had laid out for him. With their own hard-earned fame, the couple were working in the industry throughout the Second World War and before, and they built a solid base on which their children were able to build their own careers, offering them opportunities to begin on radio and then move to television with them. There is no doubt that part of his success was amplified based upon the family he was born into and the power that their name carried behind him. Ricky Nelson was born on May 8, 1940, to Ozzie and Harriet Nelson. These are the same performers from the renowned music duo Ozzie and Harriet. Ricky Nelson was sure to be involved in the entertainment industry in one way or another. As Ozzie traveled with the orchestra, Harriet stayed home with newborn Eric and his older brother until he was left with his grandmother, while the rest of the family, his parents, and his older brother David. He rejoined the rest of the family when they settled into their final home in Los Angeles in 1942, which would later be the home that his mother lived in after Ozzie's death until her own. By 1944, his father had become the writer for the new show, The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, and he used his experiences with the family as ideas for the show. When the boys were 10 and 8, they took over from the child actors who played them on the radio show, and this launched his career. It also brought him into contact with his first two girlfriends, who he dated in his teen years. They ended up being short-term flings. Soon the show would make the transition to television, remaining a top sitcom from 1952 until 1966. As sitcoms began to grow in popularity, they remained entertaining and gathered a steady following of fans and viewers. During the early years of this type of entertainment, people became loyal to the stars they had known on their weekly radio shows and enjoyed what seemed to be a peek into the lives of the voices they'd been listening to. The move to television and the years of consistent work provided a safety net for the young man, who decided he would not attend college, but rather use his $100,000 a year income as a basis for his financial future. His parents managed the money in a trust for him and provided an allowance for his own expenses. As his popularity continued to grow through his world tour in 1958, his fan club reached 9,000 chapters in 1960, and he was a household name. So much so that when he tried to alter his name in 1961 to Rick Nelson, he discovered it wouldn't be an easy switch, and the original remained popular well into the 1980s. He also used the television to share his love for music, creating what would become some of the first music videos to ever be created using his songs and his father's knowledge of editing. Being able to share his music on the television as well as the radio helped to speed his rise to fame and provided an advantage that other singers wouldn't access for several more years. Not only was he able to perform on the show he shared with his parents, but as they became more engaged in other shows, that reach expanded. Continuing into the 1970s, he remained a popular guest star on several well-known television shows, interviewed extensively both as an actor and a musician. His television appearances kept him in the public eye, where he was celebrated for his versatility and charm. He starred in movies alongside iconic figures such as John Wayne and Dean Martin, showcasing his range in both comedic and dramatic roles. He worked alongside the legendary Jack Lemmon in The Wackiest Ship in the Army, and starred in Love and Kisses with Jack Kelly, a role that highlighted his ability to blend humor with heartfelt performance. Additionally, he had parts in Hondo and several other shows, contributing to his widespread recognition. Balancing a recording career with movies and television shows took up much of his younger life. His dedication to his craft and his talent as a performer earned him several hits on the top 40 charts. Remarkably, he came in second only to Elvis Presley for the most hits at one point, solidifying his status as a prominent figure in the entertainment industry. His hard work and talent were ultimately recognized with a Grammy in 1986, a prestigious accolade that capped an impressive career. His journey through the entertainment world is a testament to his enduring talent and relentless work ethic. Several accolades and awards were presented to him throughout his illustrious career. Notably, he was part of the original use of the term teen idol during the early stages of his career, capturing the hearts of young fans everywhere. He had an impressive 53 songs that appeared on the Billboard Hot 100, showcasing his enduring popularity and musical talent. Additionally, he achieved a historic milestone by having the very first #1 song on the Billboard Hot 100 when the chart was created. His impact extended beyond music. In 1996, Ricky was ranked number 49 on TV Guide's 50 Greatest TV Stars of All Time, a testament to his lasting influence and popularity well after his untimely death. His legacy in both music and television continues to be celebrated by fans around the world. The last time that he reached the top 40 was with Garden Party in 1972. The song was released before the remainder of the album, and it found its way to the top of the Billboard Hot 100. After being provided with a new band to replace those who resigned before the album was released, they changed the name and he toured with them as the Stone Canyon Band, playing smaller venues and bars and working back up to larger venues along the tour. From there, his music career slowed and he found gigs at theme parks and filled the extra time with smaller roles on television shows. While his professional life seemed full of gigs, tours, hits, and recording both music and shows, his personal life involved only 2 main relationships outside of his family. His career was filled with the glamour and demands of the entertainment industry, which often left little room for a stable personal life. Yet despite the whirlwind of his professional endeavors, his romantic life was relatively quiet. After 2 short relationships in his teen years with girls who played his girlfriend on the radio show that launched him to stardom, he began to date Chris Harmon in 1961. Kristen Harmon was the daughter of Tom Harmon, a celebrated football player, and Elise Knox, a well-known actress and fashion designer. She had 2 siblings, Mark and Kelly Harmon, who also had their own careers in the spotlight. The Harmon and his family had a long-standing friendship that bridged their professional and personal lives, making this relationship a natural and welcomed progression. After Chris became pregnant, the couple married in 1963 in a ceremony that was attended by close family and friends, signifying the union of not just 2 people, but 2 well-respected families. Rick agreed to raise any children as Catholic, respecting Chris's religious background and ensuring that their family would have a shared spiritual foundation. The couple's commitment to each other and to their families marked the beginning of a new chapter in his life, intertwining their personal and professional worlds in a way that brought stability and meaning amidst the chaos of fame. 4 children were born into the marriage: Tracy Nelson, and then Gunnar and Matthew Nelson, twins who later created the band Nelson, and Sam Nelson. Sadly, the marriage was dissolved in a very public divorce that found its way through the media, just as all of his recording hits had, and the lifestyle was a large part of the disagreement surrounding it. It's believed that the divorce cost him over $1 million, and Chris was found to be drinking heavily and leaving the children in the care of the household staff frequently, leaving them both with severe losses tied to the divorce. His next relationship didn't begin until 1980, when he met Helen Blair, who was working as an exotic animal trainer and as a model at the time. Soon, she was traveling with him as he toured, and she quickly became involved in his day-to-day organization, scheduling, and working with his fan clubs, and they moved in together in 1982. They had decided not to marry, however, they were together until they both passed away in the plane crash in 1985. After the funeral, her parents wanted them to be buried together, however, his family refused, and a dispute occurred that ended up in the courtroom. Her parents were awarded a small settlement from the estate. On New Year's Eve of 1985, Ricky Nelson, Helen Blair, and 3 others were flying from Gunnersville, Alabama to Dallas, Texas, when their plane attempted an emergency landing. A heater in the tail of the plane was determined to have been the cause when it malfunctioned and ignited. As the fire spread, it also filled the plane with smoke and fumes from the burning and melting materials that were toxic, killing all 7 of the passengers who were present. There were 2 pilots in the plane and they both survived. However, as they tried to land, they hit several obstacles including electrical wires and trees, resulting in a disastrous landing. It was believed that the plane had several mechanical issues in the past and was frequently being repaired, though it was cleared for that flight. On January 6, 1986, Ricky was laid to rest in the Hollywood Hills Cemetery. Throughout his life, Ricky Nelson found ways to make it out from under the shadow of his famous parents and remain true to himself. While he was added to the family show and grew up with his experiences being shared for the world to see in their own way, he managed to develop a successful career in entertainment that provided him and his wife and children with a lavish lifestyle. He had his own plane, toured frequently, worked with some of the biggest names in entertainment not only in his own time, but who remain some of the biggest names even now. He never spoke ill about his family, even if the home situation was not what it was shown to be, and he raised his children to also be successful in their own careers. Having touched so many lives through his music and acting, he continued to gather awards and notoriety even after his death, which was a tragedy after only 45 years of life.